All right, we are now live. Going to be doing some cold calling for about 30 minutes. I'll be doing more of this today, but cold calling for 30 minutes. And at the same time, I will be practicing my seller script in terms of like when I have appointments with sellers, when I'm waiting for calls. So that's what I'll be doing for this 30 minutes live. Let me start dialing. And we are rolling. All right, it's been a good morning so far. Started it pretty early, but let's keep it going. All righty. Like this right here. All right. So again, the dialing has begun, and in the meantime, I'm going to be going over my perfect seller appointment script. So I'm just going to be practicing with it, role playing with myself. Might be a little bit awkward to watch, but this is what you do. This is how you get better. If you have no one to role play with, you just role play with yourself. Practice that. Imagine that you're the seller and the buyer. So assume I have a seller appointment in person or over the phone, but it's like the legitimate appointment where we're going over pricing, pain, condition, timeline. I'm just going to read through, just make sure I have everything good. First thing is I establish the rules. So I'll be telling seller, can I share with you how these appointments normally go? I'll probably thank them as well. Say, hey, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me into your world. Or I would say, thank you so much for inviting. Hello, Song? Is this Song? Is this Song? Oh, my name's Justin. Probably caught you at a bad time. I don't know if you can help me. I'm trying to reach the owner of 1273 Richmond. Okay. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Wrong number, and he couldn't really hear that well, but that's all good. But yeah, so first thing I do when I have a seller appointment, whether it's on the phone, Zoom, or in person, is I thank them. Thank you so much for inviting me into your home or your world. I'll tell them also about the meetings. So I'll say, these meetings generally go about an hour, hour and a half. Is that still a good amount of time for you? And the reason why I ask that is because I've never bought a house in 20 minutes, ever. Ooh, bad number. Mm, I'll just say do not call. Hello, Martin? Oh, I'm looking for Martin. Did I get the wrong number? Oh, solamente poquito. Uh, looking for para Martin. ¿Quieres vender tu casa? Okay, gracias. Adiós. Adiós. I I didn't fully understand what she told me, but you're not interested. I know she said that he's working, but like, not good. Yeah, I tell the sellers these meetings typically go about an hour, hour and a half. Oh, Shaw, I see you asked in the chat, where do I get my leads from? I get them from PropStream for most of them. When I was starting out, I would get them from like the actual county. So I'd go to my county's office, the county recorder's office, and gather list of different kinds. For me, the biggest one was the tax delinquent list, so people behind on their property taxes, and those were good lists for me. Hello? I'm looking for Billy. Hello? Billy? Hello? Okay, not available. But yeah, now I just used a list provider because you can get so many more records. And over time, as you do a couple deals, you're just going to realize you're going to call everyone anyway. So you might as well just get a big list. But at the beginning, it's great to niche down because it doesn't cost that much. I'll also tell sellers in the establishing the rules of the appointment. Hey, typically homeowners that I speak to want to know, how does this process work? How much money will I get? And when will I get my money? Am I missing anything? And I just wait to see if they're actually going to say something. Because if they say something other than those three things, how does the process work? How much money will I get from this? And when will I get my money? It's probably really important to them because most sellers really just care about those three things when you're going to meet with them. And so if they say something, jot it down, write it down, or take a mental note and address that later. And then I have to let them know this. I say, obviously, for me to figure out if this is one of the houses we're going to buy, I'm going to have to ask you some questions, and some might actually be personal. Will that be okay? And the reason why we ask that, it's a rule that has to be established. Hello, Richard? Oh, sorry about that. Okay, bye-bye. Wrong number. But yeah, you have to set rules for the game you are playing. And in this game, it's just a phone call. So we have to set rules for the rest of the phone call. And if I let them know I'm going to be asking some questions and some might be personal, and they give me permission to do so, then later on, when I'm getting into the details of like, hello, Maria? Is this Maria? Hello? Hung up on me. I'll just call him another time. Oh, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. But if I get permission from them that I can ask personal questions, then later on in the conversation, when I'm digging into their pain, asking, well, how much do you own this house, anyways? Or like, why do you want to sell in the first place? And if they ever give me pushback, like, why are you asking these questions? Like, that doesn't matter. Like, just give me a price. I'll just, I'll say and counter, like, oh, like, I'm so sorry. I misunderstood. I thought it was okay for me to ask you questions. And if you just say it like that, exactly like that, they'll understand. They'll be like, "Oh, yeah, I did say that was okay. Just keep going." So, if you don't set the rules at the beginning and you ask all these personal questions, like, it's awkward. If you never set those rules, it feels awkward asking those questions because you know you never got permission to ask it, and so you will get people to say, "Why are you asking me these questions?" So that's why we set that at the beginning. It's like, "Hey, if in order for me to figure out that this is one of the houses I'm gonna buy, I'll have to ask you some questions, and some might be personal. Is that okay?" Just like that. Once you get permission from them, the next thing that I'll go into is naturally, at the end of our time together, one of two things will happen. Either we'll work together or we won't. Either way, perfectly fine. And it's just setting the expectation that I'm not desperate for this house. At the end, we're going to work together or we won't. And if it doesn't work out, that's okay. We have to let them know because if you come off as desperate, they'll sniff it out and they'll understand that they have now the advantage in the negotiation later on. And also, you gotta let them know. Also, if the price that I offer doesn't work for you, or if you don't believe that we're a good fit, would you feel comfortable telling me no? I have to ask that because you don't wanna end the appointment with them saying, "Oh, maybe. Let me think about it." Like, you really don't want that. You want a yes or a no. And you don't have to pressure them to say so. Like, you just have to set the rules at the beginning and remind them of those rules at the end. That's how you can get them to say yes or no, so that you're not, like, up in the air and following up for months when they actually did not wanna sell. So, the other thing I tell them is, also, if this isn't one of the houses that I'm gonna buy, will you be okay if I tell you that? Again, same kind of frame, you're setting the expectation, you're not desperate for this thing, and you want them to see, like, "Are you actually gonna be okay if I don't buy?" Like, I don't know how bad your situation is, like, that's kinda what you're saying without saying it. And hopefully they say, "Yeah, that's fine, I get it. I get that you don't buy every single house you come across because I don't." And then you have to let them know the expectation of what if we do agree? So, and if it does make sense for us to work together, then we'll go ahead and put everything that we talked about in writing. Is that fair? And you're just trying to get permission from them that at the end, if we do actually agree on some kind of price or negotiation, that we'll put it in writing. Because the worst thing is if you agree with the seller on these terms and at the end, they're like, "Yeah, like, I like your offer." But when you ask them, "Okay, let's put the contract together," they're like, "No, no, I'm not ready. I like your offer." So you wanna make sure that you're not wasting the entire hour, hour and a half. Hello, Daryl? Daryl? Hello? Oh, my name's Justin. Probably caught you at a bad time. I don't know if you can help me. I've been trying to reach the owner of 2950 Powers. Okay, okay. I will take you off my list. Okay. Bye-bye. He said, "I don't want any calls from you." That's fine. Okay. Where was I at? Um, okay, I was talking about, like, setting the expectation that if we do agree, we'll put everything in writing. Is that fair? And I'll answer questions for you guys that are actually on this live once I switch screens and once I finish the establishing rules part. But the other thing I share is, hey, look, after we've established those rules, it's can I share with you my biggest fear? You seem really nice. And some of the people that I've talked to in the past were afraid to hurt my feelings, and they just felt better telling me that they needed to think about it. Can you promise me you won't do that? I promise you can't hurt my feelings. And if I hear anything besides a yes, I'm just going to take it as a no. Fair? So, one, earlier you noticed that we set the expectation that you can tell me no, but also we're saying now, don't tell me maybe. So where we're saying you can tell me no, but just don't tell me maybe. Like that's all I want to know. And if they say, yeah, that's fair, I completely get it. Then you established, hello, Glenn. Hello, Glenn. Hello. Okay, that was weird. Not available. It was blank. So those are the rules. Let me see what questions we got. No questions in the live. All right. I'm just gonna keep practicing my next part of the appointment, which is when I start to dig into their pain. And maybe dig in is a very violent word, but it's more just like understanding why they want to sell. So when I extract pain, for the most part, like my strategy, I'll usually say, "Hey, this is a great home. Why would you consider selling to an investor like me?" And that's if I'm in the house and I'll like look around like, "Hey, this is a great home. Like, why would you sell to an investor like me?" And I emphasize the word investor so that their expectation is set that, hey, look, I'm an investor and my offer is probably going to be pretty low. And I want them to understand that up front. Now, that's usually how I open. If I'm on the phone or on a Zoom call and opening, I'll kind of say the same thing, but I'll say, hey, like, it sounds like a great home. So why would you consider selling to an investor like me? That's usually an opener to start trying to get them to talk about their pain point. Because And if the seller is, like, super not receptive and they're just not telling you about any of their pains, you can let them know too, like, "Hey," like, they're talking, "Hey, why does this matter?" Again, you go back to the rules, "Well, I'm sorry, I thought I can ask you personal questions." But it's also you can remind them that, "Hey, look, I don't buy every single house that I come to. I have to figure out where I can put my money towards because like, I might." Hello, Annalisa? Oh, I'm looking for Annalisa. Did I get the wrong number? Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so what was I talking about? This is really hard to go back and forth. I was talking about pain points and how I open up. Oh, yeah. If they're not receptive about giving their pain, I let them know, hey, I don't buy every single house that I come across. So I have to decide where I'm going to put my money because I might buy a house a month, two houses a month. Like I don't have money for unlimited houses. So I need you to work with me is what I'm essentially saying. That's kinda how I would approach it if they're not receptive at all. Another ways you can open up I've actually never done this, but this is how I was trained. You can also say when you're extracting pain, "Why am I here?" Like, "Why am I here?" And again, I've never used it, so I'm kinda curious. It's kind of a more bold opening to try to figure out what their pain is. Another way is I would use this sometimes, is like, "Well, how are you hoping I can help you?" Some of them are receptive, some aren't. Some be like, "Well, help me." "Hello, Miguel." It's Justin. Probably caught you at a bad time. My name's Justin. I don't know if you can help me. I've been trying to reach the owner of 1605 Fountain. You're probably not interested in selling it. Would you happen to have any others you might want to sell? Okay. Have a good one. Not interested. And no others. Generally nicer guy. Okay. Then Once they say a pain, and it might take a effort, like, outside of these opening questions, because 'cause I'm not gonna give you an exact script on exactly what to say every single moment, because there is none. Like, there's openers. There's ways you can start the conversation, which is the ones I just gave you, and my favorite is like, "Hey, this is a great home. Why would you sell to an investor like me?" Hopefully, they can start talking about their pain points. Once they list a pain, "Hello, Hideo? I'm looking for Hideo. Did I get the wrong number?" "Oh, this do you know Hideo?" I'm looking for the owner of 325 White Bridge Avenue." "Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Have a good one." She was quick to get off. Very soft voice, so I try to go soft and match her. I didn't wanna be aggressive. Not interested, though, but you gotta mirror people whenever you hear very big differences in the speech. Alright, so I'm thirsty. Testing, testing. I changed my mic settings on my microphone because it was a little bit low before, so I'm kinda curious. How's it sound? People on the live, does it sound okay? Okay. But yeah, once they say a pain, so let's say this say something like I'm trying to think of like an ongoing problem. Let's say they have a problematic tenant. They're like, when I say, why would you consider selling to an investor like me? And they might say, well, I've kind of been having trouble with the tenant. And if they're not like giving me much, I'm like, well, can you tell me more about that? And maybe they tell me more. Maybe they say, you know what, like he's been breaking my stuff. He's been not paying the rent and he's not responsive. Like it's been kind of a struggle. Next thing is like, well, when's the last time like any when's the last time something happened that it caused you that pain, or how long has that been going on? Like these are the next questions that you would ask. Um, and they're like, well, dude, he isn't paying for 3 months, so it's actually been really hard for me because I had to pay the mortgage still. And next question is like, well, what have you tried to do about that? And what I'm doing here is I'm just going through a funnel of questions so that the seller is explaining all of his pain and he's feeling it because I want the seller to feel the pain. I know that sounds bad, but they have to feel the emotion. No human can make a decision without emotions. People make decisions based on emotions and they'll justify it with logic. And actually, there's this person who I think they got in some kind of accident and they lost the part of their brain that had emotion. So they're emotionless. And what they found is that this person no longer could make a single decision for themselves because they lost that emotional side of the brain. Now, like if that doesn't tell you that people need emotions to make decisions, I don't know what else will. But that's why we have to dig into their pain so that they feel it. Because if we're just going straight into price, like, hey, what do you want for the house? And like, oh, this, like, I'll pay you this. That won't work. It could for very few times, but for the most part, you got to go into their pain. And so it's like, hey, what have you tried to do about that? Well, I've tried to talk to them, call them, knock on the door, but they've just been knock on the door and done all these things, and I might be like, "Well, did it work?" And they're like, "No, it didn't work. There's not responding to my calls or texts or door knocking or nothing." And then I might say, "Well, how do you feel about all that?" And he was like, "It sucks. Like, I don't know what else to do." Like, we're trying to get them to tell us that they need help. We want them to beg us to buy their home. That's what we're trying to push them towards. The other thing is, I might ask them, "Have you just given up trying to deal with the problem?" What's voicemail? Not available. But yeah, have you given up trying to deal with the problem? And they might say, I don't know. I haven't, I haven't really done anything much else, and I just don't know what to do. I want to solve it. I just don't know what else to do." And then it might also be like, well, does anyone else know? And we ask this because not a lot of people like to share their struggles. So if they are going through the pain, likely no one else knows. And if you're the only other person that knows what they're feeling, you're in a really good position to get the deal because you understand them. And by the end of this call, like you will understand them even more. The other thing too is might ask him, well, how much would you need to take care of this problem or that? If it was more like financial issue, like property taxes or something, but it's not because it's more like renter thing. Or it would be, well, what would happen if I can't help you? And this is the big question because we want to get them thinking, shoot, I don't know what would happen. Like, I think I'll lose the home. I think I'll lose the home if I don't take care of this and if you don't help me. That's essentially like the pain funnel. And you do that with every single pain. So maybe they mentioned tenants as one of the issues. You do that whole pain funnel, all that list of questions with that one particular tenant problem. Now, you might also ask other things like, is there anything else that like is causing you this kind of discomfort? Hello, Dean. It's Justin. Probably caught you at a bad time. Well, I don't know if you can help me. I've been trying to reach the owner of 2161 Palo Alto. Wait, you can't help me because you're not the owner? Oh, I'm just not a company. It's just me. I'm actually wondering if you're interested in selling it at all. Okay. 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 Bye bye. I said my name's Justin. I'm not no company. It's just an individual. Well, alone, but yeah. Okay. That guy was a dick. Not interested. I should just hung up early, but I wanted to see what he'd say. All right. Anyways, so yeah, that's the pain funnel. You ask all those different questions about people's pain, and if they list something else, like so we talked about tenants, uh, and let's just say you might ask another question after you go through that pain funnel. And you're like, man, like that sounds really rough. It sounds like you've been going through a lot. It's been happening for a while. Is there anything else that is causing you to? Hello, Brian. Hey, is this Brian? Hey, it's Justin. Probably caught you at a bad time. Well, I don't know if you can help me. I've been trying to reach the owner of 728 Collins. Oh, okay. So, what with you or me, when should I call back? Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that. Have a good one. It's fast to get off. It was interesting when I said it's about the property. He's like, "Oh yeah, it's actually not a good time." And I was like, "Oh, when should I call you back?" Telling him like, "If you don't tell me now, I'm gonna keep calling you." And he's like, "Oh, actually, are you trying to buy it?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Not interested." Okay. Mm, that's where I was at. So yeah, like if they had the tenant issue, I might ask, "Is there anything else causing discomfort regarding this home, or is it just the tenants?" And he might say something else. The seller, he might say, "Well, yeah, I mean, I'm actually because of this, I'm behind on something else. Property tax. What if it's property tax?" He's like, "Well, actually, I'm behind on payments." And I was like, "Oh, well, can you tell me more about that?" He's like, "Well, it's a mixture of property taxes and the mortgage payments." And then you just go through the same funnel. Can you share the last time something happened, or how long has it been a problem? What have you tried to do about it? How do you feel about it? How much would you need to take care of it? If it's like property taxes, you can ask, have you given up trying to deal with the problem? Does anyone else know? What would happen if I can't help you? Like you just go through that funnel real slowly, just so they understand everything, and you extract all their pain. And by the end of it, you should be able to tell them, okay, so you're feeling this kind of pain, this anxiety because the tenant's causing you. Hello, Manjeet. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Wrong number. Okay. Hustler Hollywood? Wow, he probably owns that building. Wrong number. Or he works there, but that would be weird. But yeah, that's how you extract pain. Okay. Ooh, I actually gotta get off this call. So let me break. I got a team meeting to go to. I hope you enjoyed this first episode of cold calling today. There's going to be more cold calls, and you got to learn a lot about seller appointments and how to talk to sellers. So hopefully this was helpful, and I'll see you at the next one.